A deadly triple shooting in a neighborhood being targeted with added city resources. Next at 4, Fox 45 News questions what's fueling this area's violence after city leaders tout results of a new crime prevention program. Then retired county school employees still feeling the effects of a ransomware attack 2 years later. The frustrations and concerns over pension issues that remain unresolved.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We're taking a live look from around the region, and we are starting very slowly to see the weather improve. A little sunshine out there after days of rain and wind.
That's right, Mary. From Towson to the Inner Harbor, all the way to Anne Arundel County and down to the ocean on the eastern shore, we are starting to see the weather improve, like Mary said, even if it's slightly. But it's still chilly out there. There is quite a bit of damage to the dunes along the Delaware beaches, while Ocean City escaped the brunt of the storm. We'll have a live report coming up at 5:30. Good afternoon. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. We're going to begin this afternoon by getting a first look at our slowly improving forecast with meteorologist Amy Aronson. Amy, I saw the sun for about 3 seconds, and then I saw rain and timonium right after it.
Same. On my drive-in, I briefly had to break out my sunglasses. Little baby steps here. By tomorrow, we're going to need the sunglasses again, and that sun is going to be out in full force. We're finally saying goodbye to that pesky coastal low that's just been hanging out offshore, sending us showers, rain after more rain. Right now, though, if we take a look at the latest loop, I'm seeing less and less rain. We are just stuck under the clouds right now, and it's cool out there. Temperatures are still hanging out in the low 60s, upper 50s right now. Plus, we've got a little breeze on our hands. But by this time tomorrow, this map's going to look much different. It's going to look much different outside, and that's because we're welcoming back the sunshine. At least your drive home looks better this evening. We're not tracking rain, so I am giving it the green light for your evening commute. You are just up against some cloudy skies still and some cool temperatures, with temperatures hanging out in the mid-60s and upper 50s. Now, coming up in about 15 minutes, we will take a look ahead to tomorrow. I'll let you know exactly when that sun returns and what that's going to mean for our temperatures for the rest of the week, and then getting into the weekend eventually. Back to you.
Amy, thank you. Well, a violent start to this Wednesday with several shootings and at least 2 homicides. One happened as part of a triple shooting where police recently announced the takedown of a drug-fueled criminal enterprise in West Baltimore.
We have live team coverage of a city in crisis. Mackenzie Frost has details on funding for the city's violence prevention program, which is supposed to help prevent these types of incidents.
But first, the investigation into that West Baltimore criminal enterprise was part of an ongoing program under the mayor's group violence reduction strategy. Alexa Ashwell questioned why police believe the violence has returned to this area. Alexa?
Yes, Kai, Mary, this homicide was part of a triple shooting that occurred in the city's western district. This district is where the city has been adding resources as part of that program aimed to reduce crime. Well, leaders say it's been successful and continues to be, pointing to the latest statistics, but we wanted to know what's fueling this recent violence.
A triple shooting turned homicide here in the 2800 block of Edmondson Avenue in West Baltimore. Police say officers were called here around 2 this morning and found a man with multiple gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 more victims, a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old, police say, later showed up to an area hospital with gunshot wounds. Investigators not yet saying what they believe led up to the victims being shot. But this is the same block where about 6 weeks ago, the city announced the arrest of 12 people associated with the ABG criminal enterprise, what the commissioner described as a network of people who sold drugs and were involved in violence in and around the Princess Plaza.
All of these individuals have prior arrests to include various narcotics arrests, armed robbery, handgun violations, assault, attempted murder, and even murder.
This takedown of ABG, part of the mayor's pilot program for his group violence reduction strategy. The city pointing out crime has gone down in the Western District. The latest statistics showing a more than 30% reduction in homicides and a more than 20% reduction in non-fatal shootings. So what's fueled this triple shooting?
We hear over and over again that people are going in and out of the criminal justice system.
Fox 45 News sending a list of questions to both the mayor's office and Baltimore police, asking, does it appear new criminals have taken over this territory since the takedown of 12 members of ABG? And if so, is this something the city anticipated may happen? And what action did the department take in anticipation of this possibility?
Now, just within the past 30 minutes, I did receive a response from the Baltimore Police Department, a spokesperson clarifying this triple shooting did not happen within the Princess Plaza where this criminal enterprise had been operating, and they have no information that would lead them to believe that new criminals have taken over this territory. As for the other shootings and homicide, I'll have more on that coming up at 5. For now, reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you believe city leaders when they say the crime crisis is getting better? So far, 100% of those who voted say no. We still want to hear from you. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to express your opinion. We will check back in on these results throughout the night.
Well, City Council is demanding answers from the city agency implementing the Safe Streets program as the changes to management begin. Now, their questions come after almost a year of Fox 45 News digging into this violence prevention program. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been leading that investigation, and Mackenzie joins us now live. And Mackenzie, today you questioned the mayor about funding. What kind of answers did he give you?
Well, Kai, we know that there is more confusion surrounding the funding for Safe Streets and how that money is being spent, right? So this morning after the Board of Estimates meeting, we asked Mayor Brandon Scott directly, what's going on? Homicides in Baltimore lower than this time last year, but the city is still on pace to surpass 300 lives, cut short for the 8th year in a row, and non-fatal shootings remain higher than at this time in 2021. At the forefront of Baltimore's community violence intervention ecosystem is Safe Streets, a program that's refused to open their doors and let Fox 45 News see how it works. After our relentless coverage of the program, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or Monzi, taking to Twitter mere minutes after a Safe Streets investigation story aired on Fox 45 News. Monzi writing, "No ARPA dollars have been allocated to the administration of Safe Streets." But it wasn't always presented that clearly.
We're investing approximately $22 million in gun violence prevention.
Safe Streets front and center with the mayor while announcing federal ARPA allocations to Monzi. So Wednesday morning, we pressed Mayor Scott. Mayor Scott, why won't your administration let us see Safe Streets? I just have one follow-up question, though. Is your administration hiding something when it comes to this program?
We're not hiding Safe Streets money because the contracts are all put out in the public. You can keep making it up in your head and saying it all over and over again, but they're publicly funded dollars. They're in the city budget. The contracts go through the Board of Estimates. If we have to give you guys a civics lesson every week, we might have to send you guys to Johns Hopkins University.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The mayor's newfound clarity comes after major management changes to the program and renewed confusion.
There's no confusion about Safe Streets funding.
I think there is a little confusion about the breakdown with how the money is being spent.
If you look at the city budget, Safe Streets is a city program. That money comes from city dollars to CBOs. That's always been the case. You can find it in the city budget book right online.
ARPA is funding the CVI expansion, though, correct?
ARPA is funding CVI work for other organizations in expansion in many ways. Yes, you're right.
According to Monzi's own website, Safe Streets is an example of a community violence intervention program. And it's unclear how the community groups that run Safe Streets spend their money. And questions remain about if Safe Streets actually saves lives. Can you point us in the direction of where that data is to prove that these programs are working?
Listen, I think you and I have had this discussion a lot. We've had Hopkins, we've had all these people, Dr. Daniel Webster, analyze what happens with Safe Streets, which is just one portion of the ecosystem. You can go find that anywhere. And you can see that, and you look at that analysis time and time again about the impact of Safe Streets.
That Hopkins study is from 2012. A review of the program has not been done since it's expanded from 4 locations to 10. And the internal review Monzi did confirmed what Fox 45 News had been reporting for months, that the data is inconclusive about just how successful this program is. While the cloud of confusion continues,
welcome Baltimore.
Shantae Jackson, the director of Monzi, now touting transparency.
In Monzi, transparency, curiosity, honesty, integrity aren't just buzzwords. They are the values that we live by.
While she refuses to sit down with Fox 45 News for an interview. While the mayor says Safe Streets is not getting any federal money, just this afternoon, the mayor's office itself announced a new allocation of ARPA money going to various programs within the community violence intervention ecosystem. Live in Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, the Maryland Attorney General's office releases body cam video of a deadly police shooting in Harwood last month. A warning, some of you may find the video you're about to see disturbing.
Put your hands up! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Put it down! Drop it! Drop it!
In the video, you can see 48-year-old Anthony Hopkins walking out of the woods towards officers on Sands Road. Investigators say Hopkins raised a gun in the direction of officers before they shot and killed him. In the video, officers can be heard telling him to drop it before firing. 5 different officers fired and hit Hopkins. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say it all happened in response to a woman who called, saying her husband tried to strangle her. No officers were hurt in that shooting.
We have an update right now. Howard County police say there was no actual danger located after a lockdown yesterday at River Hill High School. Officers say they temporarily detained a few students, but found none was involved. Now, and they did not make any arrests either. They do say the investigation continues.
Next month will mark 2 years since Baltimore County Public Schools were hit by a crippling ransomware attack. The school system says it has made significant progress toward recovery, but some internal problems persist. And that includes ongoing efforts to correct issues with pension and health insurance payments for thousands of school system retirees. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live as she continues to investigate. Amy?
Yeah, well, the latest confusion for retirees coming in August and September when some retirees tell me they received bills in the mail or past due notices from a company named Voya. Retirees say these envelopes arrived without warning from Baltimore County Public Schools. Some retirees actually thinking it was a scam or junk mail and tossing them out. But the bills went out to retired BCPS employees who are now being told they've allegedly underpaid for health insurance each month since that November 2020 ransomware attack on the district. Retirees who received these overdue notices for bills say their attempts to get answers and clarity about these Voya letters have been unsuccessful, and they say they're frustrated and confused.
I worked myself up from being a parent helper in an elementary school to a nice position at Greenwood. And I'm still working for them. I'm still, investigating all this. That's not fair. It's not fair.
And Amy, what does BCPS have to say about these surprise bills in the mail?
Yeah, so I asked them about this, why these letters went out in the first place. And today, BCPS sent me another letter that they say went out to retirees. It's dated last Thursday, September 29th. And a few retirees I spoke to today say they've yet to get these actually in the mail. But BCPS says the latest letters tell them to disregard those Voya letters and overpayment notices, and that itemized statements of what retirees each owe will be going out. And they say they're forthcoming, not giving an exact timeline of when those bills and statuses will be going out in the mail. They also say benefits will not be canceled for any retirees due to a lack of payment. I'm sure you can see the confusion. We'll have much more on this situation coming up at 5 o'clock. Mary, back to you.
Amy, thank you.
Well, the Orioles wrap up a surprising and encouraging season today with the doubleheader against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Morgan Atzett is live with the very latest for us in studio. Morgan?
The other birds, we'll get to the Ravens here at 5 o'clock. Now, it was a season for the Orioles no one predicted. Sure, we knew call-ups would happen. Baseball's top prospect, Adley Rutschman, hoping for some others. The likes of Gunnar Henderson and Kyle Stowers appeared, but no one was thinking anything but a 100-loss season or close to it for the Orioles. And that was so wrong. Instead, the O's took their postseason push all the way to the beginning of October before they were eliminated from the wild card chase. Today, games 161 and 162 to wrap up the season with a doubleheader with the Blue Jays. The O's cannot have a losing season. They can finish with 82 to 84 wins. The Birds' first winning season since 2016 and first ever since Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde started running the operation at the end of the 18 season. With this pleasant surprise and a rebuild that is no more, it's happening. All eyes to the future and keeping this rolling.
We feel that the time is right from a strategic standpoint. In fact, the time is pressing to do that now that we have the foundation of the top farm system in baseball and a major league team that is young and talented, and now with a 500-plus record.
For us, that is the next step, and we've come a long way in a few years, and be able to have people talking about us going into next spring training with the expectations of our team getting better. Our guys building off of this year, I think we're all embracing that, and we're ready for it, and we're looking forward to it.
The Orioles took Game 1 over the Blue Jays 5-4 after Taron Vavra's first Major League home run. Game 2 and the final one of the season is just getting underway. Guy?
Morgan, thank you. Now coming up, taking to the air to cross the border, looking at how the growing trend is adding to the crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border.
The biggest oil producers in the world say it's time to cut back. I'm Christine Frizzell in Washington with what this decision means globally.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Pain at the pump, gas prices are on the rise again at a cost of $3.51 a gallon on average in Maryland. That's up 6 cents from last week. Well, nationally, gasoline cost $3.83 a gallon. That's also up 6 cents in a week. Experts say global supply is about to drop significantly, which could keep prices moving in this upward direction.
And that is because the alliance of the largest oil-producing countries, known as OPEC Plus, has decided to cut back on oil production by 2 million barrels a day starting in November.
Less supply means what is produced will cost more. National correspondent Christine Frizzell takes a look on the impact this will have here in the United States and around the world.
At the gas pump, prices had been falling, then ticking back up a few weeks ago. Now experts predict a rise of 15 to 30 cents a gallon. With the midterm elections, which will determine who controls Congress, just 5 weeks away, a worried White House vowing to fight back. President Biden ordering the Department of Energy to deliver another 10 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserve, already at its lowest levels in 4 decades. This July meeting with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was supposed to help.
And I'm doing all I can to increase the supply for the United States of America, which I expect to happen. The Saudis share that urgency, and based on our discussions today, I expect we'll see further steps in the coming weeks.
3 months later, the only steps taken have been backwards. The United States is not a member of OPEC+, which does include Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, the United Arab Emirates, and Russia. The group argues it is simply making a correction since oil prices have fallen from $120 a barrel in May to $90 now. While Europeans already struggling to heat their homes could be hit far harder, one big winner could emerge: Russia, despite sanctions from the West designed to cripple its economy. Oil and gas experts argue the move by OPEC Plus bolsters their argument for more domestic production.
To be able to use our own resources, to be able to produce here in the United States, that's given us energy security against foreign producers, some of whom may not have the U.S. interest at heart.
New concerns, though, summer prices at the pump will return for the holidays, with a rise in worries on Wall Street as well, as the politics of oil plays out, with some predicting Democrats could take a hit for decisions far beyond their control. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.
Okay, Amy is back as we continue to wait for the sunshine in full, I think.
Mary saw it for 3 seconds. I saw it, I think, for 3.5 seconds.
I know.
I saw it very briefly, too. I was on our afternoon call.
It was
I was like, I see
crazy.
the sun.
I got excited, and then it was just gone.
That's
right?
why I went very bright today.
Yeah.
I was like, I need
bright
something.
vibes.
Exactly.
I promise it's going to be coming back soon. It's been raining nonstop, on and off, for 6 days now. Actually,
It's
since
like
I was with you
nuts.
all last Thursday, I think it's pretty much been
true.
raining. But I promise.
All Ian-induced, Amy?
Yes, what's left of Ian anyways. But fortunately, we're saying goodbye to that now. We're
Good.
seeing signs of drying, and next up will be the sun. So that's coming our way tomorrow. Right now, still looks kind of cloudy. If I look down at Federal Hill, we can see clouds there, not seeing much in terms of sun. 64 degrees, so also still cool. Plus, we've got that northwesterly wind at 7 miles an hour, making it feel just a touch cooler. But if I show you the weather map and you look closely, even at the clouds and the rain, you'll notice it's spiraling in the right direction. It's finally pushing away from us slowly, and I am seeing signs of clearing, at least west of here right now. Eventually, we'll see that locally as we head overnight and as we get into the day tomorrow. And future scan shows that by 11 o'clock tonight, I actually think we're seeing some clearing and cooling. We're back in the low 50s overnight, actually some 40s popping up by tomorrow morning. And look at this. For your morning drive tomorrow, you're going to need the sunglasses. You're probably going to have to find them again. You're going to need them tomorrow morning. Temperatures start off cool, so I'd also wear a light jacket. And then we warm up. So with the help of that sunshine, our temperatures climb to near 70 by lunchtime. By day's end, we're feeling great. This is going to feel really nice and warm. Mid-70s to wrap up the day. And we stay clear. We stay bright and sunny as we head through week's end. Friday, more sunshine, more low 70s by lunchtime, more mid-70s briefly. But then this happens. Yes, I'm tracking another cold front. It's our next weather maker. But you'll notice it doesn't come with any rain, fortunately. It will have an impact on our temperatures. Friday night into Saturday morning, it is going to get downright chilly. We could actually see potentially the first frost freeze in some spots north and west of Baltimore as we dip into the low 30s there, and that would be the case by Saturday morning. So when do we typically see our first frost and freeze? Well, on average for BWI Airport, it happens in late October, around October 28th. The earliest on record dates back to October 4th from 1974, and then the latest time we had that on record, November 18th in 2020. But we have the potential of getting there at least northwest of Baltimore by Saturday morning. For tonight, far from freezing, still going to be cool. We'll dip into the low 50s tonight, and then tomorrow, hello, sunshine. It's back in full force with temperatures warming into the very pleasant mid-70s. And then the sunshine is here to stay. Check out this 7-day, no rain at all, tons of sunshine, tons of yellow taking us through the weekend into early next week. We just have some temperature dips, a little cooler to start the weekend, but it looks like as we head through the end of the weekend into next week, we'll be warming back up. Mary?
All right, thank you. Polling Maryland Election Day is just under a month away now, with plenty of critical decisions to be made, where one poll says we stand on legalizing recreational marijuana and the governor's race.
Education under fire. I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. A closer look at what some argue educators should be teaching more of in the classroom.
Illegal border crossings are dangerous for everyone, from migrants to border patrol officers to residents in border states. Recently, those who can afford to avoid crossing the border on the ground have taken to the air and are creating headaches for smaller towns with landing strips in the Southwest. Jordan Elder from our Sinclair sister station in San Antonio reports.
By foot, by water, by truck, and now by plane. The Texas Department of Public Safety says private charter jets are the up-and-coming way to cross the border.
And we were able to disrupt and stop 3 smuggling attempts by plane within 30 days from 3 different airports in the Rio Grande Valley.
Dozens of people apprehended from the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, and Mexico. Domingo Garcia with LULAC says these smaller airports are targeted for a reason: less security.
Well, if you go to a private terminal, there are no Border Patrol agents. Therefore, there's less scrutiny.
It's considered to be safer.
Getting in the back of an 18-wheeler, getting in the trunk of a car, walking across the desert are very dangerous ways to get into the United States that can result in your death or apprehension. And coming across on a private plane minimizes the risk.
But this form of transport is significantly more expensive, mostly used by upper-class migrants from Central America.
They told our law enforcement personnel that they paid $11,000 each to be smuggled on a plane.
Cartels have raised the price for more dangerous crossings too.
So where before it was maybe $2,000 to $3,000, now they're charging $5,000 or $6,000 to bring people across the border.
Olivares says though this won't be the preferred choice for many migrants, it could pose big threats to national security.
Calls for school safety in Baltimore County. We talk live to a community leader about the county's response so far. The Federal Reserve's ongoing fight against inflation is making it more expensive to borrow, but it also means the U.S. dollar is gaining strength. We look at what's behind, called a ripple effect.
In a city in crisis, Mayor Brandon Scott continues to work with Squeegee Collaborative in an effort to find a solution to Baltimore's squeegee problem. And Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live right now. So, Mackenzie, is there anything that the mayor is doing to provide an update to the public about the squeegee situation? Because remember, we tried to get into that meeting with the collaborative and media wasn't allowed inside.
Yeah, Kai, you'll see a little bit more about that specifically in just a few minutes. But right now, we're still waiting on an update from the mayor about this Squeegee Collaborative. And remember, it was first launched after we saw a string of violent incidents between motorists and squeegee kids over the summer. And it all stems from the fact that Mayor Brandon Scott says right now the current laws on the books banning squeegeeing will not be enforced. Right off Interstate 83.
We have a squeegee disturbance.
Police lights still visible through the rain at Mount Royal and North Avenues.
Or stage 2 squeegee kids, number 1 males wearing blue hoodies, early 20s or late teens. Other states, there was an officer parked at location but could not see dispute.
Audio from the police scanner revealing an issue that's become all too common this summer alone in Baltimore.
Walked up to the vehicle and asked if she could help him out. And poured liquid soap on the windshield and then hold the wiper blades up.
Just your first name? Just last month, a woman coming to Fox 45 News.
He said to me like a couple times, don't test me, don't test me, I will bust your window.
After her car was damaged in what she says was a squeegee incident at the same corner.
He just walked up to my car even though I said no, and he started spraying the car and all that stuff. The moment I hit my gas, he hit the car with his squeegee thing.
The police report shows property damage, and now charges have been filed. But these two incidents aren't isolated. Data from the Baltimore Police Department show 166 squeegee-related calls for service had been made from September 13th to October 4th. That's on top of the 485 squeegee calls from July 1st through September 12th. The rise in tensions between drivers and squeegee kids hitting a tipping point in July when 48-year-old Timothy Reynolds getting out of his car at Light and Conway with a baseball bat to confront squeegee kids his family claims damaged the car. Reynolds shot and killed, leaving behind a family and a reminder of Baltimore's problem. The mayor looking to address the root causes of why these kids are out on the corners breaking the law. Launching a Squeegee Collaborative with business community members, nonprofits, Squeegee Kids, and his administration. Holding a public meeting, but not allowing cameras inside.
The young people said they don't want the cameras in there, but they got elders that's out there saying we don't want our windows washed.
And hardly allowing the public to speak.
I felt secluded, that this was just, you know, a show.
The tensions arising out of laws on the books going unenforced, like this one banning soliciting from drivers. The mayor says squeegeeing is panhandling, and that, he says, is protected free speech. Now police officers are stationed at known squeegee corners.
Nobody wants them to actually enforce the law.
Sean Kennedy from the Maryland Public Policy Institute says police officers are now just tasked with watching.
So instead, they're asking them to babysit and effectively say, tisk, 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 to the squeegee kids when they step over the line, but not do anything about it.
Over the summer, the department utilizing hundreds of hours of overtime to have officers sit at these corners. After Fox 45 News first reporting the deployment plan, Police Commissioner Michael Harrison going on the radio.
It is not sustainable because our manpower doesn't allow us to do that, because there's so many other serious things that we have to respond to and that we have to be in places to prevent. And so we can't sustain this indefinitely.
But so far, BPD says the deployment plans are still in place and have no set end date. It comes after a pilot program was launched this summer by the Downtown Partnership to put armed security guards at the corners. But the squeegee kids remain, and the problem persists.
I know that they say it's an impossible thing to kind of take them off the streets, but I believe that that's what they need to do. And it puts me in fear because it's like I don't feel safe going outside. We don't go out at night.
While the mayor works on a plan to find other options for these kids. Now, at that squeegee meeting, a deputy mayor who's involved in this process first told me that we could expect to see a result and plans from the collaborative sometime in the first couple of weeks of October. But now the mayor's office tells me we should not expect any results until the end of fall. Live in Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
And this is just the latest example of violence involving a Squeegee kid over the past year. In May, Fox 45 News obtained video that appears to show a Squeegee kid hitting a driver. In January, a Baltimore City man came to Fox 45 News saying he was sprayed in the face and then threatened with a gun. Last November, a complaint from a driver led to the arrest of a Squeegee kid who was carrying a pistol. The arrest came after Fox 45 News heard from a doctor who said a Squeegee kid threatened to kill him. And remember, Maryland does have a law to prevent Squeegee kids from gathering at intersections. The law says a person may not stand in a roadway to solicit a ride, employment, or business from the occupant of any vehicle. There is also a law against aggressive soliciting. Neither law is being widely enforced.
We have an education alert from Anne Arundel County as the plan for public schools to switch to virtual learning on snow days officially gets the green light. Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live now. So, Amy, what do students, parents, and teachers need to know? And I imagine students aren't happy about this one.
Yeah, so this plan was just approved by the state superintendent of schools after getting the initial approval by the Anne Arundel County Board of Education just a few weeks ago. This plan says that AACPS can repurpose up to 8 school days this year for virtual learning. No more than 3 of those days can be asynchronous instruction, and no more than 3 virtual days can occur in any one marking period. The district says it now needs to work with the teachers union to find a time for teachers to make a snow day lesson plan, which would be used if one of these asynchronous snow days becomes reality. And whenever the forecast allows, the district says that switch to virtual learning will be announced in advance.
And Amy, under this new plan, are snow days a thing of the past in Anne Arundel County?
That's the good news for kids. No, not necessarily. So the district says that the superintendent actually says the decision about what days to make virtual snow days or not will be made on a case-by-case basis. And when they were initially proposing this plan earlier last month, the district gave the example of, one of those snow days or maybe even sleet or ice days. If you live in Maryland long enough, you know it well. Some days there's widespread power outages. The district said in cases like that, it just wouldn't make sense to have a virtual day. People don't have power, so that would likely still be a true snow day. Kai, back to you.
All right, Amy, thank you. Well, meantime, in Baltimore County, a group of community members and parents is calling on school leaders to do more to keep students safe.
This comes after new video circulated online showing a group of students fighting. One girl is seen using a bat. This is similar to a number of school fights that we saw in Baltimore County last year.
Well, joining us live is Darren Badillo, a parent of 2 students and the member of the Baltimore County Parent and Student Coalition. Thank you so much, Darren, for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me, Kai and Mary.
All right. Well, you hosted a rally 2 days ago. Have you heard back from the school system since then? Have they reacted to what you guys did out there?
Yeah, so we had our town hall last Thursday. In that town hall, we had some concerned parents who brought some issues of an incident that happened at Perry Hall High School. And then after our rally, it seems like the same day, the school did make a statement not showing compassion towards the student, but it almost seemed like they threatened them for coming out and saying anything.
Darren, what would you and other parents like to see the school system do to keep kids safe?
I mean, the bottom line is, we have incidents regarding violence prior to COVID. Last year, it was out of control. The beginning of the year, we heard of small fights, then it went to big fights, then it went to weapons in school, and then it became to guns, and then somebody being shot. And somebody was shot the first week of school in Baltimore counties. We just want our kids to have a safe and quality education, and those children to be held accountable when they put their hands on other students.
Well, hopefully you'll get some resolution soon, but if you can, we're going to look at some other school issues, including our Amy Simpson just reported on Anne Arundel County moving to virtual learning instead of taking snow days. Is that something the coalition would like to see in Baltimore County as well?
I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I don't believe in virtual learning. I think virtual learning was a failure. We know that prior to the school year this year, the Department of Education said they need to hire 250,000 tutors to catch our kids up from the failure of virtual learning, and nothing's been done about that. So I disagree. I don't think virtual learning should ever be an option.
All right, Darren Badillo, thank you very much. Darren, I'm sure we'll be checking back in with you and other parents as they try to, again, get a handle on safety and also talk about this issue of virtual learning. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Election Day is just over a month away, and now the Washington Post and the University of Maryland releasing a variety of poll results surrounding the most important issues that will affect Maryland voters. Close to 73% of Maryland voters favor legalizing recreational marijuana, with 87% of voters under 40 favoring it. Maryland already allows for medical marijuana use, as do 36 other states and D.C. Maryland would become the 20th state to legalize adult recreational use of the drug. Meanwhile, in the governor's race, the poll finds political newcomer Wes Moore holds a 32 percentage point lead over his opponent, Dan Cox. Moore, a Democrat, has attracted both Democrats and Republicans. According to this poll, 22% of Republicans would vote for Moore come November.
Baltimore's elected leaders say they believe the crime crisis is improving, while violence overnight seems to contradict those beliefs.
The Federal Reserve's fight against inflation here in the U.S. has ripple effects around the world. I'm Atra El-Nashar with what you should know about the rise of the dollar.
And that pesky coastal low that has sent us days and days of rain is finally rotating away from us. And we're already seeing an improvement on the radar. I'll let you know exactly when the sun returns and what that means for our temperatures for the rest of the week in a couple of minutes on Fox 45 News at 5.
The Federal Reserve's fight against inflation is showing up in higher interest rates, making it more expensive to borrow debt. Well, the Fed's moves also means the United States dollar is gaining strength, which has ripple effects around the world. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has a look at what a strong dollar also means for Americans.
The world's reserve currency is soaring, the U.S. dollar at its strongest point in 20 years. Value ballooning as the Federal Reserve raises interest rates. Peterson Institute's Joseph Gagnon.
That makes U.S. Financial assets, bank deposits, bonds, more attractive to foreigners.
Investors fearing a global recession, seeking safety in the dollar's ability to hold up during tough times. The strong dollar is a boon for Americans traveling abroad as they can get more for their money. On the flip side, it could discourage people from traveling to the United States. There are also trade-offs for imports and exports. A strong dollar makes it cheaper to import goods, which could help with inflation here in the U.S. At the same time, it's tougher for American companies to sell their products overseas. In the past, a strong dollar has also been a headwind for agricultural exports and American manufacturers. While that could affect American jobs, Gagnon points out that might bring some balance to the tight labor market.
There's lots of room. I mean, job vacancies, there's still 2 jobs posted for every unemployed American, which is incredible. If we had some reduction in the jobs being offered, that isn't so bad right now.
It could help lower inflation and keep the Fed from inflicting more of what it calls necessary pain.
We are moving our policy stance purposefully to a level that will be sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2%.
But not so restrictive that it slows the U.S. into a recession and the rest of the world, too, as it stretches to keep up with the rising dollar. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nashar reporting.
The Florida Department of Education says 68 of its 75 school districts are open again for in-person instruction. 2 more will open Thursday, with nearly all colleges and universities. The remaining school systems in parts of Southwest Florida can't say for certain when they'll reopen. Some still don't have power and are working on evaluating the damage. Now, this includes more than half the schools in Lee County, Florida. For now, students can use remote learning capabilities if they have access to the internet. President Joe Biden and the First Lady are in Fort Myers, Florida today, touring the regions devastated by Hurricane Ian last week. Biden vows to bring all levels of government together to help rebuild homes and businesses. Nearly 300,000 customers are still without power.
And we've been dealing from the remnants of Ian for 6 days now. I broke it down day by day for you. We actually wrapped up the month of September with the start of it. Only 0.2 of an inch of rain that day. But if you look at what unfolded for the start of October, it's been a wet start. For the month so far, we're well above where we should be with over 3 inches of rain. The rainiest day coming in yesterday with well over an inch. Even today already. Earlier this morning, we picked up about 0.7 of an inch of rain. So when you add all the numbers together, the system sent us a solid 4 inches, actually a little more than 4 inches of rain. And finally, right now, we're not seeing the rain falling, but we are still stuck under the clouds in Towson, looking cloudy and feeling cool. Everybody except Westminster reporting temperatures right now. Westminster having issues with their reading. Otherwise, low and mid 60s across the board. It's cool everywhere right now. Plus, we've got a little breeze coming in from the north. Winds are light at the moment, calm to about 5 miles an hour in most spots. But look at what's coming as we get into the days ahead. Temperatures will be warming. The 70s are back for not 1, but actually 2 days in a row. That puts us where we should be for this time of year, with the mid-70s returning. And here's a look at the reason why. The system is moving away from us, that pesky coastal low finally drifting eastward. As that happens, it's going to take the rain and the clouds along with it. And look at what's up next. First, high pressure. That's what's going to send us sunshine for the next 2 days, along with the 70s. But then you'll notice another cold front behind that. That's another weather maker coming our way. And that's what's actually going to bring us some temperature changes in time for the weekend. Let's track it all. First, we get the clouds out of here. We welcome back the sunshine as early as tomorrow morning. Temperatures warm nicely right into the mid-70s. And then here comes that cold front marching eastward. Looks like it arrives here Friday afternoon. Friday, we still squeeze in a warm day. No rain showing up along this front either, so that's good news. But behind it, we are in for a speedy cool down, and cooler temperatures will take over just in time for the weekend, with the potential actually for a frosty morning come Saturday. But otherwise, it's all sunshine, taking rain chances out of your 7-day forecast completely. We have sunshine for the next 2 days with highs warming into the mid-70s. Much cooler on Saturday, but at least it's still bright and sunny. Sunday night, we have that Ravens game. Going to feel great for that. Actually going to feel a little cool for that with temperatures dipping into the 40s, but at least it's dry. And then we stay dry as we head through early next week with temperatures gradually warming back up from the upper 60s on Monday, right back into the very mild low 70s again next Tuesday and Wednesday. Kai?
Amy, thank you. Well, spoiler alert for The Masked Singer. Season 8 continues right here on Fox tonight. Now, we're only 2 episodes into the season, and this morning, Be More Lifestyle's Mark Clark had the opportunity to talk with one of the performers who was unmasked in episode 2.
The Hummingbird, founding member of NSYNC, the Booger with the Sugar, the head honcho, the top dog, Chris Kirkpatrick joins us. What's going on, Chris? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I love that, the Booger with the Sugar.
Man, you've been a booger a long time, brother. So look, you are a singer, and people know your voice Now, did you go into the show in the show trying to change things up so people wouldn't recognize you? What was your strategy?
Well, normally, I mean, when it comes to NSYNC songs, I always do the high harmonies and all that. So I tried to keep it a little low and change up the song kind of selection to where they wouldn't hear my voice right away and know who it was. And apparently that didn't work for me.
Well, tonight's new episode premieres at 8 o'clock. You can watch it right here on Fox 45. Coming up at 5 o'clock, the Ravens have trailed for a total of 14 seconds in their 2 losses this season, but stand at 2-2 overall. We look at why there's still plenty of reason to have hope for the team. And many medical bills and collections contain at least one error. Ahead, how to deal with medical debt collectors and what they're finding is wrong. If you've ever been contacted by a collection agency over a medical debt, you're not alone. In fact, more than 40 million people have unpaid medical bills sent to collections. As Tom Rogers explains, before you make any payments, Consumer Reports has some advice on how to fight back.
Earlier this summer, Lauren McNeil got a curious bill from a collection agency claiming she owed $71 to an urgent care center that she never visited.
I believe that they just made a mistake. I had never been to that urgent care.
Lauren reached out to Consumer Reports investigative reporter Lisa Gill for help.
Lauren's case is a textbook example of why you should almost always push pause when contacted by a debt collector about a medical bill.
Lisa was very helpful. We would, call some of the places together and she would help me kind of navigate the process.
If you're contacted by a debt collector for a medical bill that you believe to be wrong, never pay it right away. Instead, Consumer Reports says to take these steps. Gather as much information as you can, including the name of the collection agency, the person you're speaking with, their number, address, email, and as much information about the bill as possible.
There are a lot of scams out there, so doing this can deter any phony debt collector.
Next, ask the debt collector to send verification of the debt. If the verification letter shows an error, file a dispute in writing by either email or certified letter within 30 days, or else the collection agency will assume the debt is valid.
We had Lauren send a certified letter to the debt collector with all the documentation showing that she did not actually owe the bill. She still hasn't heard back, so she is not obligated to pay off any of the debt.
As I told my son this whole story, and he said, all of this for $71? And I said, yes, but you can imagine if it was thousands of dollars.
Now, one more piece of advice. There might be a statute of limitations on how long the debt can be collected. Do not pay any part of the debt until you are sure that you still owe it. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
Florida communities continue to pick up the pieces after Hurricane Ian's destruction. Residents are now facing a new issue, and that's looting. We'll have details next. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Tonight at 5, multiple shootings and homicides in Baltimore last night. We're pressing leaders if plans to reduce crime are really working.
City council members demand answers on the Safe Streets program, why they say they're still in the dark when it comes to changes being made.
A school system telling retirees they may need to give money back from their pension checks. The issue stemming from a cyber hack 2 years ago.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We have team coverage tonight on a city in crisis. Mackenzie Frost continues our investigation into the Safe Streets program in Baltimore and how it actually works.
But first, more violent crime in Baltimore with several shootings and at least 2 homicides overnight. One of the killings happening as part of a triple shooting near where police recently announced the takedown of a drug-fueled criminal enterprise.
Alexa Ashwell is live questioning why it appears the violence has returned to this area. Alexa?
Okay, Mayor, that's a question we asked to both the Baltimore Police Department as well as the mayor's office. According to the Baltimore Police Department, officers were called to the 2800 block of Edmondson Avenue in West Baltimore around 2 this morning. There, the department says officers found a man with multiple gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 more victims, a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old, both males. Police say later showed up at an area hospital, both with gunshot wounds. Investigators not yet saying what they believe led up to the victims being shot, but this is the same same block where about 6 weeks ago, the city announced the arrest of 12 people associated with the ABG criminal enterprise, what the police commissioner described as a network of people who sold drugs and were involved in violence in and around the Princess Plaza. Take a listen.
All of these individuals have prior arrests to include various narcotics arrests, armed robbery, handgun violations, assault, attempted murder, and even murder.
Now, this takedown of ABG, part of the mayor's pilot program for his group violence reduction strategy. Fox 45 News asking a series of questions, including, does it appear new criminals have taken over this territory since the takedown of the 12 members of ABG? Well, a spokesperson with BPD telling me they have no information that would lead them to believe that new criminals have taken over this territory and that the troubleshooting did not specifically occur within the Princess Plaza. Still, Mary, police not yet releasing a motive in this triple shooting or releasing any suspect information.
All right, Alexa, what about the homicide and shootings that occurred so far today? What can you tell us about those?
Yes, Mary. So what we know about the other homicide, this was a stabbing that occurred in East Baltimore, specifically police responding to a home on Central Avenue. There they found a man, a 43-year-old man, had been stabbed. He was later pronounced dead at an area hospital. That case remains under investigation. As for the other shooting that occurred hours later around the 9 o'clock hour this morning, police say a 29-year-old man was found shot multiple times in the 3000 block of Pinewood Avenue. That's northeast Baltimore. Again, no arrests have been made in any of these cases. Reporting live in Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Alexa. And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you believe city leaders when they say the crime crisis is getting better? So far, 100% of you who voted say no. We'd like to hear from you. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to express your opinion. Well, the city council is demanding answers from the city agency implementing the Safe Streets program as the changes to management begins. Their questions come after Fox 45 News spent nearly a year digging into the violence prevention program.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been leading this investigation for us. Mackenzie, you questioned the mayor today about the funding. What did he have to say?
Well, there was a lot of back and forth with the mayor today, Mary and Kai. There's still a lot of confusion about what money is going to Safe Streets and how that money is being spent. So this morning, we went directly to Mayor Brandon Scott to ask what's going on. Homicides in Baltimore lower than this time last year, but the city is still on pace to surpass 300 lives cut short for the 8th year in a row, and non-fatal shootings remain higher than at this time in 2021. At the forefront of Baltimore's community violence intervention ecosystem is Safe Streets, a program that's refused to open their doors and let Fox 45 News see how it works. After our relentless coverage of the program, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or Monzi, taking to Twitter mere minutes after a Safe Streets investigation story aired on Fox 45 News. Monzi writing, "No ARPA dollars have been allocated to the administration of Safe Streets." But it wasn't always presented that clearly.
We're investing approximately $22 million in gun violence prevention.
Safe Streets front and center with the mayor while announcing federal ARPA allocations to Monzi. So Wednesday morning, we pressed Mayor Scott. Mayor Scott, why won't your administration let us see Safe Streets? I just have one follow-up question, though. Is your administration hiding something when it comes to this program?
We're not hiding Safe Streets money because the contracts are all put out in the public. You can keep making it up in your head and saying it all over and over again, but they're publicly funded dollars. They're in the city budget. The contracts go through the Board of Estimates. If we have to give you guys a civics lesson every week, we might have to send you guys to Johns Hopkins University.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The mayor's newfound clarity comes after major management changes to the program and renewed confusion.
There's no confusion about Safe Streets funding.
I think there is a little confusion about the breakdown with how the money is being spent.
If you look at the city budget, Safe Streets is a city program. That money comes from city dollars to CBOs. That's always been the case. You can find it in the city budget book right online.
ARPA is funding the CVI expansion, though, correct?
ARPA is funding CVI work for other organizations in expansion in many ways. Yes, you're right.
According to Monzi's own website, Safe Streets is an example of a community violence intervention program. And it's unclear how the community groups that run Safe Streets spend their money. And questions remain about if Safe Streets actually saves lives.
Can you point us in the direction of where that data is to prove that these programs are working?
Listen, I think you and I have had this discussion a lot. We've had Hopkins, we've had all these people, Dr. Daniel Webster, analyze what happens with Safe Streets, which is just one portion of the ecosystem. You can go find that anywhere. And you can see that, and you look at that analysis time and time again about the impact of Safe Streets.
That Hopkins study is from 2012. A review of the program has not been done since it's expanded from 4 locations to 10. And the internal review Monzi did confirmed what Fox 45 News had been reporting for months, that the data is inconclusive about just how successful this program is. While the cloud of confusion continues,
welcome Baltimore.
Shantae Jackson, the director of Monzi, now touting transparency.
In Monzi, transparency, curiosity, honesty, integrity aren't just buzzwords. They are the values that we live by.
While she refuses to sit down with Fox 45 News for an interview. While the mayor himself says that Safe Streets isn't getting any of that federal ARPA money, the mayor's office announced just this afternoon that there's even more allocations being made to groups working in the community violence intervention ecosystem. Live in Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
We have continuing coverage on the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. President Biden visits Fort Myers to survey the damage today. The president and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden walked through one of the communities hit hardest by the storm. They were welcomed by Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, who thanked the president for his support in the wake of the hurricane. The president promised the federal government will do whatever it takes to help rebuild.
You don't have to have much of an imagination to understand that everything is historic, titanic, and unimaginable storm just ripped it to pieces. You got to start from scratch.
Well, Ian was one of the most destructive storms in Florida's history. Officials are still working to get an exact count on how many deaths were caused by the storm. 280,000 people still don't have power.
Well, after nearly a week of rain, the remnants of Ian have moved past Baltimore, sort of. If they're getting there. And while it was nice to see the wet weather ending, things were still cloudy most of the day today. Meteorologist Amy Aronson is in now with when skies will officially really clear up. Amy?
I know, it's been quite the process, but I promise it's going to happen shortly. Actually, tonight, we are expecting to start to see some clearing. And if we take a look at what's happening on the radar right now, already looks much improved. If I put this into motion here, you can see at least the rain has pushed offshore and away from us. Now we're just waiting on the clouds to follow and to clear. And while we wait, it's still cool out there. We're in the low 60s right now, but come tomorrow, it's going to feel much different. As you plan ahead for your day tomorrow, I would plan on bringing the sunglasses with you for your morning drive, with temperatures starting in the cool low 50s. But as we head through the afternoon, nice bright sunshine. Perfect if you want to get out to the pumpkin patch maybe in the afternoon if you've been putting that off because of the rain. Temperatures will be warming nicely. We climb through the low 70s and into the mid 70s by day's end. Now, coming up in 10 minutes, I'll let you know exactly how long this sunny, dry stretch is going to last this time and what changes we're tracking just in time for the weekend. Mary?
Thank you. The Maryland Attorney General's office releases body cam video of a deadly police shooting in Harwood last month. A warning, some may find the video you're about to see disturbing.
Put your hands up! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Put it down! Drop it! Drop it!
In the video, you can see 48-year-old Anthony Hopkins walking out of the woods towards officers on Sands Road. Investigators say Hopkins raised a gun in the direction of the officers. 5 different officers fired and hit him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say it was all in response to a woman who called saying her husband tried to strangle her. No officers were hurt.
Well, next month will mark 2 years since Baltimore County Public Schools was hit by a crippling ransomware attack. And today, the school system is still trying to correct those issues with pension and health insurance payments for thousands of school system retirees. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live right now as she continues to investigate. Amy?
Yeah, Kai, for the last few months, it's been like a slow drip. I continue to get calls and messages from Baltimore County Public School retirees telling me this problem is very much not fixed.
Retirees voicing their confusion.
At first, I thought it might have been a scam.
And frustration.
This is so upsetting to me. I've lost sleep over this.
Describing bills that came in the mail in August and September from a company named Voya.
That was my level of frustration. First off, I couldn't figure out why I owed the money.
The envelopes arriving without warning from Baltimore County Public Schools.
No explanation.
One of these women says Voya told her to repay $14 a month for a total of about $180. Another retiree says her bill asked for more than $78 each month.
Which totals $941.28.
These ladies among the group of retired BCPS employees, now being informed they've allegedly been underpaying for health insurance coverage since that November 2020 ransomware attack on the district.
It says failure to remit payment within the premium payment grace period of each plan may result in coverage termination for that plan. I was beside myself.
But attempts to get answers from the district's benefits office unsuccessful, they say.
That was my frustration, not being able to get the answers and not being able to communicate with anybody at all, and it was not for the lack of trying.
Now wanting clarity, as BCPS is trying to claw the money back.
The next item is Voya health insurance concerns.
The issue was on the agenda at a BCPS school board meeting on September 13th.
We were able to identify retirees that had either overpaid or underpaid into BCPS system.
But retirees say the district's head of human resources only caused more confusion.
Any retiree that received a bill from Voya Benefit Strategies can disregard that bill.
Retirees told to disregard the Voya letters entirely. She said updated communication was going in the mail to retirees the very next day.
We never got it. She said it would go out that week. I never got anything.
Today, Baltimore County Public Schools sharing that letter with FOX45 News, which is dated last Thursday, September 29th. The letter says Voya has been asked not to send any further notices to retirees, and benefits will not be canceled due to past due payments. The letter says itemized statements as of August 31st are forthcoming, and interest-free payment plans will be available.
All of the communications that have come to us have no signature to it.
Among these three women, a combined 96 years of service to BCPS, much of it spent at Greenwood's central office. But they've asked us not to show their faces or use their names, fearful of losing their pensions or health insurance.
It's not the same system I was proud of for 31 plus years. It's not.
As their wait for a resolution drags on nearly 2 years later.
I worked myself up from being a parent helper in an elementary school to a nice position at Greenwood. And I'm still working for them. I'm still, investigating all this. That's not fair. It's not fair.
And I'm told other BCPS retirees have taken their concerns about this ongoing problem to the state, asking the State Inspector General for Education to look into these pension problems. And this week, when I asked the IG for Education if he's investigating, he did not say yes or no. He said he's not able to answer that question currently, and he directed all of my questions to the FBI. Reporting live, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
The remnants of Ian have passed, but the cleanup has just begun. A live look tonight at the dramatic beach erosion left behind and plans for recovery.
Some of the world's largest gas producers are cutting supply. The impact that could have on Maryland. As Florida communities pick up the pieces in the wake of Hurricane Ian's devastation, residents are dealing with another problem, looting. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
The sheriff of Lee County, Florida, which took a direct hit by Hurricane Ian, announcing multiple arrests for looting during a press conference. The sheriff saying 3 of the people arrested were in the United States illegally.
Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marceno making his position on looting clear.
When I say zero tolerance, I mean zero tolerance.
The sheriff announcing Tuesday the arrests of people suspected of stealing valuables from the rubble.
And I'm proud to say that behind bars where they belong, all 3 of these subjects are here illegally in this country.
If I could, I would take those 3 looters, I'd drag them out by the collars, and I'd send them back to where they came from. These are people that are foreigners. They're illegally in our country. And not only that, they try to loot and ransack in the aftermath of a natural disaster.
Attempting to deter looters, residents of hard-hit areas spray painting messages like "Keep out."
We're seeing the glass being broken out. They're stealing cigarettes, alcohol.
We had issues with the generator that we have power now, right? So people were trying to steal it earlier.
Obviously, there is an aspect of it where people are in need of supplies, and that might be the only way for them to get the supplies. In other cases, people are just trying to capitalize off of a community's misfortune.
The sheriff says the best thing people can do right now is stay off the streets and out of the rubble while law enforcement and first responders continue their efforts. The Lee County Sheriff sending a strong warning for would-be looters that if they walk into a house, they'll have to be carried out. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
5:18 on this gray and gloomy looking Wednesday. We are still hanging out under the clouds right now, but at least it's not raining. Looking down at M&T Bank Stadium in the background here. Currently in the cool mid-60s with a northwesterly wind at 6 miles an hour. But things are looking up and we've got brighter skies ahead. I am still tracking that pesky coastal low that has sent us days now of rain, 6 days to be exact. That's finally moving on. If you look at the loop closely, you can see it is rotating away from us, taking the rain along with it already. And eventually these clouds that we're still seeing here in Baltimore, they'll follow and they'll actually start to clear as early as tonight. Future scan shows clearing late tonight through early tomorrow morning. We wake up cool tomorrow morning. Most start off in the low 50s, some outlying areas in the cooler low 40s. As we get into the afternoon, though, with the help of that sunshine, it's going to warm up nicely. We have temperatures warming into the low 70s by lunchtime and mid 70s by day's end. And that's exactly where we should be, actually, as we head through early October. Friday morning's another cool one, but look at what happens Friday afternoon. We briefly warm into the low 70s again before our next weather maker gets here. And that next weather maker is a cold front. It's coming through Friday afternoon, Friday evening. You're not going to see any more rain with it, fortunately, but it will have a big impact on our temperatures as we get into the weekend. Friday night into Saturday morning, we are in for a big drop. Some of the coldest air of the season so far, and the potential for our first frost freeze of the season. Look at what's happening north and west. Spots like Westminster will dip into the low 30s to start off your Saturday morning. So when do we typically see our first frost or freeze? Typically in late October, around October 28th. The earliest on record, October 4th from 1974, and the latest, November 18th in 2020. And this basically means if you've been hoping to get some extra grass seed down, you might want to do it sooner over than later. Tonight, we are far from freezing. We are still looking at cool temperatures. Temperatures will fall through the 50s into the low 50s overnight. But then here comes the sunshine tomorrow. Break out the sunglasses. It's going to be a beauty, especially after days of rain and clouds. This is going to look and feel really nice with temperatures warming and bouncing right back into the low and mid 70s. And then we stay there, at least for one day. Friday's just as nice. Over the weekend, I am tracking that big cool down, and that big drop in temperatures brings us into the low 60s Saturday, mid 60s on Sunday. Feels great during the day on Sunday, but if you're headed out to that Ravens game Sunday night, it's going to be cool again with temperatures dipping back into the 40s. But at least our dry, rain-free, sunny stretch continues all the way through next Wednesday. Mary?
Thank you. Well, your vote could change the way government operates in Baltimore. The impact a community leader says approving term limits for city officials could have. The Ravens came up just short this past weekend. How they're preparing to bounce back and eliminate the issues hurting the team. A live look at M&T Bank Stadium, where the Ravens came up just short against the Buffalo Bills this past weekend. The team is good enough to hang with the best in the NFL, but a couple close games had them sitting at 2-2. Morgan Atzett joins us now with the latest on how the team is preparing to bounce back. Morgan?
Yeah, Mary, there's no better opportunity to bounce back than at home, primetime stage under the lights in the AFC North, when the Ravens open up division play against Cincinnati Sunday night. And while the running game has slowly improved each week due to health, and they need that now more than ever, more help is on the way. The 21-day window has officially started for running back Gus Edwards. Edwards is coming off the physically unable to perform list and back on the practice field for the first time in more than a year, when he missed all of last season with a torn ACL before week 1. Edwards can return to play now or in the next 3 weeks, judging by his injury, though, and how long he's been out, and the Ravens easing their players into returns. Edwards most likely will not play against the Bengals, but that doesn't mean this isn't a huge step for the Ravens offense.
Gus was at practice today. Gus looked good. You know, he's out there. He's done a really good job with his rehab. He's worked really hard, and I thought he had a good day. So, you know, it's obviously just the first day back in quite a long time. We're going to have to, see where it goes, but it was certainly a good start.
While Edwards returned to practice, he is not on the active roster yet. Some big misses at practice who are that the Ravens need for Sunday: receiver Rashad Bateman, running back Justice Hill, and linebacker Justin Houston, who have injuries. John Harbaugh said Bateman is day-to-day. They hope to have him Sunday night after a foot injury.
Well, all season long, we are showcasing your team spirit. We want you to send us pictures wearing Ravens gear supporting the team. These are some little cuties. All you have to do is to be featured is to go to our website, foxbaltimore.com, select the Chime In tab, submit photos under Purple Pride. All right, term limits on the ballot in Baltimore, why one community leader says approving them would be a step in the right direction for the city. And beaches on the eastern shore heavily damaged by Ian's remnants. A live report from Rehoboth next, plus the plan to recover. Another incident involving Squeegee kids in Baltimore. The latest on what's being done to clear streets, plus some major breaking news we're just learning about this hour.
And we have breaking news right now. Court documents reveal a man is accused of luring a group of Squeegee workers to a home and shot them back in May.
Fox 45's Jeff Abel joins us live with details on this apparent motive and more details on this. Jeff?
Well, detectives here are describing this as a case of revenge from a man angry at Squeegee workers for stealing some $2,200 from his very own mother. Police have arrested Shamil Dixon, who detectives say lured 3 Squeegee men into his truck with the promise of a job, but wound up shooting 2 of them instead. Detectives tell us that Dixon drove the 3 to Edmondson Avenue, where he demanded to know who did this to my mom, and then pulled out a gun and began firing. A 17-year-old and 23-year-old were injured. A 3rd victim fled the scene unharmed. The incident happened back in May, but with the help of surveillance footage and license plate readers, detectives managed to identify Dixon and arrest him last month. It is still unclear tonight whether the victims in this case are the same Squeegee men accused of stealing from Dixon's mother. We are live at police headquarters. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
All right, Jeff, thank you. And as we're learning more about that violent incident, Mayor Brandon Scott continues to work with the Squeegee Collaborative in an effort to find a solution to the problem.
That's right. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live. And Mackenzie, is the mayor any closer to providing an update to the public about a plan, especially when we hear the stories that Jeff was just reporting?
Yeah, Mary, we're still waiting to learn exactly these details of the Squeegee Collaborative. And remember, that was first launched after we saw a string of violent attacks this summer between motorists and Squeegee kids. And Mayor Brandon Scott continues to say that the laws on the books right now banning squeegeeing will not be enforced. Right off Interstate 83.
We have a squeegee disturbance.
Police lights still visible through the rain at Mount Royal and North Avenues.
Or say 2 squeegee kids. Number 1 males wearing blue hoodies, early 20s or late teens. Other states, there was an officer parked at location but could not see dispute.
Audio from the police scanner revealing an issue that's become all too common this summer alone in Baltimore.
Walked up to the vehicle and asked if she could help him out. And poured liquid soap on the windshield and then pulled the wiper blades up.
Just your first name? Just last month, a woman coming to Fox 45 News.
He said to me like a couple times, don't test me, don't test me, I will bust your window.
After her car was damaged in what she says was a squeegee incident at the same corner.
He just walked up to my car even though I said no, and he started spraying the car and all that stuff. The moment I hit my gas, he hit the car with his squeegee thing.
The police report shows property damage, and now charges have been filed. But these 2 incidents aren't isolated. Data from the Baltimore Police Department show 166 squeegee-related calls for service had been made from September 13th to October 4th. That's on top of the 485 squeegee calls from July 1st through September 12th. The rise in tensions between drivers and squeegee kids hitting a tipping point in July when 48-year-old Timothy Reynolds getting out of his car at Light and Conway with a baseball bat to confront squeegee kids his family claims damaged the car. Reynolds shot and killed, leaving behind a family and a reminder of Baltimore's problem. The mayor looking to address the root causes of why these kids are out on the corners breaking the law. Launching a Squeegee Collaborative with business community members, nonprofits, Squeegee kids, and his administration. Holding a public meeting, but not allowing cameras inside.
The young people said they don't want the cameras in there, but they got elders that's out there saying we don't want our windows washed.
And hardly allowing the public to speak.
I felt secluded, that this was just, you know, a show.
The tensions arising out of laws on the books going unenforced, like this one banning soliciting from drivers. The mayor says squeegeeing is panhandling, and that, he says, is protected free speech. Now police officers are stationed at known squeegee corners.
Nobody wants them to actually enforce the law.
Sean Kennedy from the Maryland Public Policy Institute says police officers are now just tasked with watching.
So instead, they're asking them to babysit and effectively say, tisk, tisk, tisk.
Over the summer, the department utilizing hundreds of hours of overtime to have officers sit at these corners. After Fox 45 News first reporting the deployment plan, Police Commissioner Michael Harrison going on the radio.
We can't sustain this indefinitely.
But so far, BPD says the deployment plans are still in place and have no set end date. It comes after a pilot program was launched this summer by the Downtown Partnership to put armed security guards at the corners. But the Squeegee kids remain, and the problem persists.
I know that they say it's an impossible thing to kind of take them off the streets, but I believe that that's what they need to do. And it puts me in fear because it's like I don't feel safe going outside. We don't go out at night.
While the mayor works on a plan to find other options for these kids. And you know, when I went to that first Squeegee meeting, the deputy mayor who's involved in this whole process told me that some of the results could be produced to the public in the first 2 weeks of October. But today, a spokesperson for the mayor's office tells me that those plans from the Squeegee Collaborative likely won't be made public until late this fall. Live in Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Switching right now to that wicked weather, the remnants of Hurricane Ian hit the eastern seashore really hard. Now that strong wind, rain, and waves on the coast heavily damaged beaches. Brad Bell is live right now in Rehoboth right now with more on what's happening there. Brad, you showed us those dunes yesterday, just gone. The dunes obviously right up to the water. How about where you are now? How does it look?
This is what I want to show you. So look, I'm at water's edge here in Rehoboth. Now, picture being at water's edge and then walking back up through all the umbrellas, all the people in their chair across the wide beach. Well, look at this. This is all the beach I have. There's only now at a high tide about 5 or 10 feet left before you get to the fence. And this fence used to be at the front of the dune, but the dune has been carved away. The good news is people in this town are already talking about how this is going to get rebuilt.
At low tide today, there's enough beach here in Rehoboth for Director of Public Works Kevin Williams to survey the damage in an ATV. We're able to tag along. It's not hard to see what the storm has done.
So we took some significant damage on the northern part of the beach. A lot of the dune was taken out. A lot of the beach is gone. Yes, it's moved out to sea with Mother Nature.
Where the dune here once sloped gently to the beach, there is now a sharp drop-off, a phenomenon called escarpment. And as for the beach itself, well, just look at what look like piers extending into the water. They're part of the town's storm drain system, and they're normally buried by sand.
I think that 4 to 5 feet would probably be a good estimate. You can kind of see how much is taken out of the dune itself.
The silver lining is that last spring, Congress approved $12 million to pump fresh sand up onto the Delaware beaches this winter. So recovery is already in the works.
We'll be back in business. You know, the dunes will be restored, the beach will be back to normal, and then, be just like normal.
Yeah, so that's the promise. That is the hope. Now, nature will bring some of the sand back. Over the course of the summer, sand will be brought on shore, but it won't be anywhere near enough. Again, let me show you just how much was carved away here. Now, the good news is, again, that this dune exists to protect the town. If we pull out, you can see, Brian, pull out a little bit, you can see that the town right behind the dune, the water never got over the dune, never got into the town. And that is why this dune exists. So they're going to get started sometime this winter on this rebuild, and they have a lot to do. In Rehoboth, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
Well, voters in Baltimore won't just decide on who will lead their city this year. They will also make a decision on how long they can serve. Fox 45's Megan Gillen spoke with a community leader this morning about the impact term limits could have on the way Baltimore is run.
Voters heading to the polls in November will have the option to vote for or against term limits for city leaders. Question K would apply to the mayor, comptroller, city council president, and council members, limiting them to 2 4-year terms. Lifelong Baltimore City resident and pastor PM Smith weighing in on whether this is needed.
This is a critical question. It limits these council persons and other officials to 2 4-year terms. That takes out the matter of name recognition. It takes out the matter of family ties. It takes out and neutralizes the matter of money, which is a temptation for corruption. If you didn't tell us, we wouldn't know. So I want to thank you for that.
now, as this word gets out there and that your congregation, voters here in the city are aware it's going to be on the ballot, do you think people are on board? Do they want this to pass, or do they want the people that they know and trust and have name recognition for to stay in office?
Well, you do recall that there was a calling for a recall. Forget that. We can accomplish what we want with term limits. 4 years, and get a real job.
If term limits are approved in November, it would take effect for the 2024 elections. I'm Megan Gilland, Fox 45 News.
We have a consumer alert for you right now. There are fears tonight that oil prices could be back on the rise after OPEC Plus announces the biggest cut since the beginning of the pandemic.
The group of countries making up most of the world's oil supply is going to slash oil production by 2 million barrels a day, despite calls from the U.S. to pump more oil.
Towson University's Dr. Darius Irani joins us live right now. Dr. Irani, first, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What's the motivating factor right now with this extreme oil production cuts? And can you give us an example of how much we get from the Middle East versus from South America?
So the motivation, I think, is that OPEC Plus, has been strongly aligned or strong preferences for Russia. So obviously Russia has experienced some loss in oil revenue. So this will benefit Russia primarily in terms of the oil revenue. I don't know the exact figures of how much the distribution of oil that we get from the Middle East versus the South America. We do import oil, but we also domestically produce a lot of oil. One of the there's both a good news, bad news with this recent cutback in production. The bad news is that consumers will likely see increases in gas. As a rule of thumb, for every $10 increase in the price of a barrel of oil, you probably expect to see about 24-cent increase in a gallon of gas. The good news is that this price increase in the price of barrel of oil will hopefully spur additional production within the U.S. It sort of fell off during the pandemic, and as oil sort of fell below $100 a barrel, it wasn't profitable for many of these oil companies to produce oil in the U.S. But at about $100, it is profitable. So this should hopefully spur some additional production, which would then continue to lessen our dependence on both the Middle East as well as South America.
Is there anything that can be done to sort of limit the impact that this will have on the people here in Maryland and really the United States?
Well, so President Biden announced that they would continue to release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve through November. So that obviously does help a little bit. Obviously, there is the gas tax that we have in the state that, again, there was a moratorium earlier this year that we had that. Now, recall, oil prices have fallen about 32% over the last 4 months. So we are going to see an uptick, but we probably won't see the same uptick we saw in earlier this year in the February through June timeframe. For consumers immediately, obviously, you want to sort of cut back your driving as much. And just as a note, although OPEC has sort of based on these targets of 2 million, most analysts believe that the loss in oil production will be somewhere between $600 to $1 million per day. So it might not be as impactful as the loss of 2 million. The guarantee is that oil prices will continue to go up, which means that the price of the pump will continue to rise.
Interesting. Okay, Dr. Darius Irani with Towson University. Dr. Irani, thank you again as always, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again.
Well, the national debt is now well over $30 trillion. A closer look at what's being done to get it under control and the impact it could have on the economy.
And October is off to a very wet start. We've already picked up over 3 inches of rain, and that number does not include the rainfall that actually fell earlier today. That puts us well above where we should be, which should be around ½ an inch. But I'm finally tracking a big pattern change. I'll let you know exactly what that is and what that means for the rest of the week and heading into the weekend in a couple of minutes on Fox 45 News at 5.
Making headlines right now, the national debt has hit a new record with interest rates rising and inflation sticking around. There are fears that federal government's debt obligations will become overwhelming. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
As the nation faces economic uncertainty, the U.S. Treasury just announced a grim milestone. The gross national debt has topped $31 trillion for the first time. The record comes as the U.S. faces rising interest rates and the highest inflation in 40 years.
We have an unsustainable fiscal situation.
The debt has doubled since 2012, accelerated in recent years by the COVID pandemic. And while many deem that spending necessary to help with relief, some experts believe it contributed to the inflation crisis the U.S. is seeing now.
Over the medium and long term, the debt raises questions about sustainability. Can the United States continue to keep accumulating this debt, paying very high interest payments on this debt? And it raises questions about economic growth.
President Joe Biden has touted his efforts, including the Inflation Reduction Act, to bring down federal spending deficits this year.
We're going to do all this while reducing the deficit last year $350 billion, and this year by $1 trillion. I'm so sick of Republicans saying we're the big spenders. Give me a break.
But in August, the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimated President Biden's policies will add $4.8 trillion to budget deficits between 2021 and 2031. There is worry that too much debt not only threatens the country's economic stability, but will hurt Americans' wallets down the road.
Future generations are going to face lower wages than they otherwise would have. They're going to receive less in federal government benefits. They're going to pay more in taxes. And a larger share of our budget is going to go just to financing interest on the debt.
And as the debt ticks closer to the ceiling imposed by Congress, Goldwine says lawmakers need to act now to avoid more pain in the long run. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
Meteorologist Amy Aronson here with a look at our weather. Everybody's beating up on the meteorologist. It's not your fault. And Amy says, sun is coming, just be patient.
I promise. I know. I was visiting my sister, and she has two little ones, and she has been anxious to get outside, and it never fails.
Get them out of the house, right?
Every time she tries to take them out, it starts to rain. Even today, they had a little rain. She's up in Pennsylvania. But I told her, tomorrow, it's all sunshine. Be outside all day long. So maybe your kids are anxious for outdoor recess. I promise, it's going to get better. It's been very rainy, not just for 1 day, 2 day. If you take a look at all the days I have lined up here, it's been 6 days in a row where we've been tracking what's left of Ian, a pesky coastal low now sending us lots of rain. If we take a look back, it started back at the end of September on the 30th, and then the numbers have climbed since. Actually, the wettest day was yesterday with over an inch of rain then. Even today, we had some rainfall this morning. If you add all these numbers up, I think it comes in with over 4 inches of rain in total. But right now, I'm finally not tracking rain falling. This is a look down at Towson, where it's still very cloudy right now. Cloudy and cool, lots of low 60s showing up on the board, but I promise this is all going to change tomorrow. Right now, we're still under that northerly wind coming in at calm to about 5 miles an hour, making it feel a little brisk this evening. But look at what's coming tomorrow. We're back in the 70s, finally, right? Mid-70s are back tomorrow afternoon under sunny skies, and Friday looks similar. Little cool each morning, but each afternoon is going to feel more fall-like and more like early October, with temperatures warming back into the low and mid-70s. And here's that low that sent us all the rain. That's finally drifting away from us, taking the rain and actually the clouds along with it. Coming in behind it, we've got high pressure and then another cold front. But along that cold front, no rain really falling. And the good news is that's going to be the case even as it tracks our way. First, we get rid of the clouds. That's because high pressure nudges in from the south and from the west. We enjoy 2 full days of sunshine before this cold front gets here. Even as that passes through, nothing really changes on Friday. We stay sunny, gets a little breezy out there, and then we'll notice a temperature change, but it looks like our skies remain dry and clear as we head through week's end and actually get into the weekend. A quick look ahead at what to expect for the rest of the week and the weekend shows 2 warm, mild days ahead of us with highs in the mid-70s. Over the weekend, it will be cooler, actually pretty cool Saturday morning with the potential for our first frost and freeze north and west of Baltimore City. Low 60s will follow during the afternoon. It's bright and sunny Sunday if you're going to be out tailgating for the Ravens. Sunday night, little chilly again as we dip into the 40s. But a quick look beyond that shows the upper 60s, low 70s are back for the rest of the week. And this entire 7-day forecast is rain-free. Now, coming up in a couple of minutes, we'll take a more detailed look at that full weekend forecast. Back to you.
Thank you, Amy. Coming up at 6 o'clock, Russians and Americans side by side in space again. Today's historic flight and what it could mean moving forward. After a surprise winning season that's wrapping up today, expectations will only grow for the Orioles next season. Why the two in charge of this rebuild say, bring it. That's next on Sports Unlimited.
As John Harbaugh said Monday, Ravens running back Gus Edwards is back on the practice field off the PUP list and practicing for the first time since his season-ending knee injury before Week 1 last year. Edwards has a 21-day window starting now to return to the active roster. It was a season no one predicted. Sure, we knew call-ups would happen. Baseball's top prospect, Adley Rutschman, and hoping for some others, the likes of Gunnar Henderson and Kyle Stowers, appeared. But no one was thinking anything but a 100-loss season or close to it for the Orioles. That was so wrong. The O's took their postseason push all the way to the beginning of October before they were eliminated from the wild card chase. Today, games 161 and 162 to wrap up the season with a doubleheader with the Blue Jays. The O's cannot have a losing season. They can finish at best with 84 wins. The Birds' first winning season since 16 and first ever since Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde started running the operation at the end of the 18 season. With this pleasant surprise and a rebuild that is no more, it is happening. All eyes to the future and keeping it rolling.
We feel that the time is right from a strategic standpoint. In fact, the time is pressing to do that now that we have the foundation of the top farm system in baseball and a major league team that is young and talented, and now with a 500-plus record.
For us, that is the next step, and we've come a long way in a few years, and be able to have people talking about us going into next spring training with the expectations of our team getting better. Our guys building off of this year, I think we're all embracing that. We're ready for it, and we're looking forward to it.
The Orioles took Game 1 over the Blue Jays 5-4 after Terrin Vavra hit his first Major League homer. Game 2, the final this season, is happening right now in the 6th, and the game is tied 1-1.
All right, Morgan, thank you. Let's get a final check of our 5 o'clock weather with meteorologist Amy Aronson.
Yeah, quick look ahead at that weekend shows all sunshine finally, right? Looks much better for outdoor plans. It's going to be warm on Friday with temperatures in the mid-70s. Come Saturday and Sunday, little cooler, more fall-like. Some cool mornings with lows in the 40s and afternoon highs in the low to mid-60s. Kai?
Amy, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, charging documents suggest a man suspected of shooting 2 Squeegee kids may have been acting in retaliation. Jeff Abel is standing by live with the latest in the investigation. Also, Maryland Task Force 1 is on the ground in Florida. We'll have an update on the help they're giving to Floridians.
A Baltimore man in handcuffs tonight after investigators say he took matters into his own hands. What we're learning about his possible connection to a Squeegee kid shooting. Today's arrest, the latest addition to what's been a violent summer at Baltimore intersections. Fox 45 presses Mayor Scott on how the city's Squeegee response moves forward. Plus, it's finally drying up in Camden Yards and across our area. We go live at the ballpark as the O's finish a remarkable 2022 season. Amy Aronson is tracking the remnants of Ian on the way out and when we could see some sunshine.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. We are following the breaking news. A man arrested on attempted murder charges, now accused of luring a group of Squeegee kids to his home and then shooting them. This happened back in May. Tonight, we have team coverage on the city's ongoing Squeegee crisis, beginning with Jeff Abel and the apparent motive in this shooting. Jeff?
Well, police are describing this as a case of revenge from a man angry at Squeegee workers who allegedly stole $2,200 from his mother. The police have arrested tonight Shamil Dixon, who detectives say lured 3 Squeegee workers into his truck with the promise of a job, but wound up shooting 2 of them instead. Detectives say Dixon drove the 3 to Edmondson Avenue, where he demanded to know who did this to my mom, then pulled out a gun and began firing. A 17-year-old and 23-year-old were injured. A third victim fled the scene unharmed. The incident happened back in May, but with the help of surveillance footage and license plate readers, detectives managed to identify Dixon and arrest him last month. It is still unclear, however, whether the victims in this case are the same people suspected of robbing his mother back in May. We are live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. And as we learn more about that violent incident, Mayor Brandon Scott continues his work with the Squeegee Collaborative, trying to find a solution. But he is yet to unveil any parts of the plans to the public. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is questioning the mayor on the timeline.
We're still waiting to see exactly what will be unveiled. This long-awaited plan comes from the mayor's newly launched Squeegee Collaborative, which he created after a string of violent incidences between motorists and squeegee kids. And remember, Mayor Scott says right now the current laws on the books banning squeegeeing will not be enforced. Right off Interstate 83.
We have a squeegee disturbance.
Police lights still visible through the rain at Mount Royal and North Avenues.
Florida State's 2 squeegee kids, number 1 males wearing blue hoodies, early 20s or late teens. Florida State's, there was an officer parked at location but could not see dispute.
Audio from the police scanner revealing an issue that's become all too common this summer alone in Baltimore.
Walked up to the vehicle and asked if she could help him out. And poured liquid soap on the windshield and then hold the wiper blades up.
Just your first name? Just last month, a woman coming to Fox 45 News.
He said to me like a couple times, don't test me, don't test me, I will bust your window.
After her car was damaged in what she says was a squeegee incident at the same corner.
He just walked up to my car even though I said no, and he started spraying the car and all that stuff. The moment I hit my gas, he hit the car with his squeegee thing.
The police report shows property damage, and now charges have been filed. But these two incidents aren't isolated. Data from the Baltimore Police Department show 166 squeegee-related calls for service had been made from September 13th to October 4th. That's on top of the 485 squeegee calls from July 1st through September 12th. The rise in tensions between drivers and squeegee kids hitting a tipping point in July when 48-year-old Timothy Reynolds getting out of his car at Light and Conway with a baseball bat to confront squeegee kids his family claims damaged the car. Reynolds shot and killed, leaving behind a family and a reminder of Baltimore's problem. The mayor looking to address the root causes of why these kids are out on the corners breaking the law. Launching a Squeegee Collaborative with business community members, nonprofits, squeegee kids, and his administration. Holding a public meeting, but not allowing cameras inside.
The young people said they don't want the cameras in there, but they got elders that's out there saying we don't want our windows washed.
And hardly allowing the public to speak.
I felt secluded, that this was just, you know, a show.
The tensions arising out of laws on the books going unenforced, like this one banning soliciting from drivers. The mayor says squeegeeing is panhandling, and that, he says, is protected free speech. Now police officers are stationed at known squeegee corners.
Nobody wants them to actually enforce the law.
Sean Kennedy from the Maryland Public Policy Institute says police officers are now just tasked with watching.
So instead, they're asking them to babysit and effectively say, tisk, tisk, tisk.
Over the summer, the department utilizing hundreds of hours of overtime to have officers sit at these corners. After Fox 45 News first reporting the deployment plan, Police Commissioner Michael Harrison going on the radio.
We can't sustain this indefinitely.
But so far, BPD says the deployment plans are still in place and have no set end date. It comes after a pilot program was launched this summer by the Downtown Partnership to put armed security guards at the corners. But the squeegee kids remain, and the problem persists.
I know that they say it's an impossible thing to kind of take them off the streets, but I believe that that's what they need to do. And it puts me in fear because it's like I don't feel safe going outside. We don't go out at night.
While the mayor works on a plan to find other options for these kids. When I went to that first squeegee meeting, the deputy mayor who's involved in this process says that we could see some of those results announced publicly in the first couple of weeks of October. But now the mayor's office tells me we should not anticipate any new plans until late this fall. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, we have seen several other high-profile squeegee incidents over the past year in Baltimore. In May, Fox 45 obtained video appearing to show a squeegee kid hitting a driver. In January, a Baltimore City man came to Fox 45 News saying he was sprayed in the face and then threatened with a gun. And last November, a complaint from a driver led to the arrest of a Squeegee kid who was carrying a pistol. And a doctor also complained that he was hurt by Squeegee workers. He was in the picture right there. You can find all of our original comprehensive reporting on Squeegee kids on our website right now, foxbaltimore.com. Well, Baltimore police confirmed 3 people were shot this morning in West Baltimore, one of 3 violent incidents going back to last night. Police say the triple shooting was part of an ongoing criminal enterprise in the area. Alexa Ashwell explains.
This homicide was part of a triple shooting that occurred in the city's Western District. This is the district where the city has been pumping added resources into it as part of the program aimed to reduce crime. Well, leaders say it's been successful and continues to be, but we wanted to know what's been fueling this latest violence.
A triple shooting turned homicide here in the 2800 block of Edmondson Avenue in West Baltimore. Police say officers were in the area and heard gunshots around 2 this morning and found a man with multiple gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 more victims, a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old, police say later showed up to an area hospital. Investigators not yet saying what they believe led up to the victims being shot. But this is the same block where about 6 weeks ago, the city announced the arrest of 12 people associated with the ABG criminal enterprise, what the commissioner described as a network of people who sold drugs and were involved in violence in and around the Princess Plaza.
All of these individuals have prior arrests to include various narcotics arrests, armed robbery, handgun violations, assault, attempted murder, and even murder.
This takedown of ABG, part of the mayor's pilot program for his group violence reduction strategy. The city pointing out crime has gone down in the Western District. The latest statistics showing a more than 30% reduction in homicides and a more than 20% reduction in non-fatal shootings. So what's fueled this triple shooting?
We hear over and over again that people are going in and out of the criminal justice system.
Fox 45 News sending a list of questions to both the mayor's office and Baltimore police, asking, does it appear new criminals have taken over this territory since the takedown of 12 members of ABG? And if so, is this something the city anticipated may happen? And what action did the department take in anticipation of this possibility?
I did receive a response from the Baltimore Police Department, a spokesperson clarifying this triple shooting did not specifically occur within the Princess Plaza, which is where this criminal enterprise was operating, and they have no information that would lead them to believe new criminals have taken over this territory. In Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 has received police video of a deadly police shooting in Harwood, Anne Arundel County from last month. We want to warn you, some may find this video disturbing.
Put your hands up! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Put it down! Drop it! Drop it!
In the video, you can see 48-year-old Anthony Hopkins walking out of the woods towards officers on Sands Road. Investigators say Hopkins raised a gun in the direction of officers. 5 different officers fired, and he was hit. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say it was all in response to a woman who called saying her husband tried to strangle her. No officers were hurt in the incident. We are coming up on 2 years since Baltimore County Public Schools were hit by a massive ransomware attack. The school system says it has made strides towards safety, but retirees from the school system are feeling the impact. Several retirees are receiving surprise notification that they underpaid for health insurance over the past 23 months, sometimes up to $80 a month. Former employees are worried about losing their benefits, and the calls for answers from county school officials have gone unnoticed.
It says failure to remit payment within the premium payment grace period of each plan may result in coverage termination for that plan. I was beside myself.
That was my frustration, not being able to get the answers and not being able to communicate with anybody at all. And it was not for the lack of trying.
The statement from BCPS tells retirees to ignore those notices. Itemized statements will be going to each former employee soon. The school system says benefits will not be canceled due to past due payments. Well, the remnants of Hurricane Ian may finally be on the way out. A beautiful night for a doubleheader as the O's are wrapping up their 2022 season. They took game one earlier today, which is great. And you can see a little bit of a blue sky trying to poke through for the first time in nearly a week. Meteorologist Amy Aronson's here with more on the sun making a return to the Baltimore region. We welcome it back, Amy.
We do. It's been quite some time, and it's going to take its time to get back. I think we'll see some clearing overnight, and by this time tomorrow, we will be basking in the sunshine once again. And that's all as we say goodbye to that pesky area of low pressure that's been hanging out offshore, sending us lots of rain. The rain has cleared us. Now we're just waiting on the clouds to follow. It is still cool out there for some late season baseball. Lots of low 60s now on the map. If we look ahead to the day tomorrow, it's going to suddenly turn much warmer. Not only are we welcoming back some sunshine and some dry conditions, temperatures will climb from the 50s in the morning to the 70s at midday and then mid-70s to wrap up the day. So if you've been putting off any fall activities, maybe heading to the pumpkin patch, tomorrow's going to be a much better day for it. Now, coming up in a couple of minutes, I'll let you know exactly how long this sunny, warmer stretch is going to last and when I am tracking our next weather maker. Mary?
Amy, thank you. Coming up, President Biden visits hurricane-ravaged Southwest Florida. His message to the people fighting for their livelihoods. And oil prices are creeping back up. The latest move from OPEC that is fueling the rise.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number one, Maryland's gas prices are on the rise again, now above $3.50 a gallon on average. This comes as OPEC is preparing to slash oil production by 2 million barrels a day starting in November. President Biden is trying to offset this loss, ordering the Department of Energy to deliver 10 million barrels from the strategic reserve. Oil and gas experts argue the move by OPEC bolsters arguments for more domestic production.
To be able to use our own resources, to be able to produce here in the United States, that's given us energy security against foreign producers, some of whom may not have the U.S. interest at heart.
Concerns are mounting here at home, including higher gas prices for holiday travel and a possible impact on the midterm elections. Well, number 2, Alec Baldwin has reached a settlement with the family of the woman he accidentally shot and killed on a movie set last year. Details of the settlement have not been released, but the victim's brother says the case against Baldwin will be dismissed. Work on the film Rust is expected to pick back up early next year on location in New Mexico in 2023. Number 3, Russian and U.S. space agencies fly together for the first time in 20 years. NASA astronauts and Russian cosmonauts flew up to the International Space Station together, ensuring there's always one American and one Russian on board. The flight also includes Japanese and Native American astronauts. The SpaceX flight was originally delayed by Hurricane Ian. It will dock tomorrow and stay in space for the next 5 months.
Today, we have one job, and only one job, and that's to make sure the people of Florida get everything that they need to fully, thoroughly recover.
President Biden in Florida today surveying the damage from Hurricane Ian. The president took a helicopter tour of the devastation and met with Governor Ron DeSantis. He's assuring Floridians the federal government is behind them. FEMA has already approved more than $70 million to jumpstart Florida's recovery effort. Well, Maryland Task Force 1 is on the ground in Florida, helping neighborhoods in the southwest part of the state. The crew includes first responders from Montgomery and Howard counties. In an interview with our sister station in D.C., one of the task force members says the resiliency of the people in Florida is an inspiration to the entire crew.
And now let's take a look at your Fox 45 triple cast, starting off with the radar, which is looking much improved as that pesky coastal low, what's left of Ian, finally takes the rain away from us, along with some of the clouds. If you look closely at the 2 shots there, although in Towson you're not seeing much sun, if you look at the Inner Harbor, I think I can see a little bit of blue for the first time in several days. It's nice to welcome that back, and we're going to see more and more of the sun in the days ahead. But then I am already tracking our next weather maker, and that's actually another cold front that's going to be coming in from the west. It's way out here, but if you take a look at what's happening along it, I'm not really tracking any rain, so that's good news. It's going to come through rain-free, not producing any rain for us, just going to have an impact on our temperatures. And here's that low I was just referencing. That's finally scooting away from us, taking the rain and the clouds along with it. High pressure will build in behind it, sends us the sunshine as early as tomorrow morning. Sunshine Thursday and Friday with nice warm temperatures, highs warming into the mid-70s each day before this gets here. That's that cold front. As you can see, it passes through with very little fanfare, doesn't really produce any rain. It will kick up our winds and it will send us some cooler temperatures, though, just in time for the weekend. But at least we stay dry. And here's another look at that sun making an appearance over the Inner Harbor. Looks pretty nice. We're in the mid-60s right now, a little cool with that northwesterly wind at 5 miles an hour. For the rest of the night, we are looking at some clearing. We should see the clouds move away from us, and temperatures will cool as a result, dropping back into the mid and eventually cool low 50s overnight. And then here's a preview of what to expect tomorrow. It's going to be a beauty. You're going to need the sunglasses again. It's going to be bright and sunny and actually much milder than it's been. Temperatures will be closer to normal, slightly above normal actually, with highs warming right into the mid-70s. And then that sun is here to stay as we get into the weekend. We've got more of it coming up both Saturday and Sunday. The only change I'm tracking, the temperatures. Although we'll spend Friday in the very warm mid-70s, you'll notice a big drop by the weekend. Not only do we have highs in the low to mid-60s, we've got some chilly nights coming up, but the potential for a frost or even a freeze in some spots by Saturday morning. Now, coming up in a couple of minutes, we'll take a look at our full 10-day forecast. Mary?
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Montana's Glacier National Park is truly magnificent. Meteorologist Jed Kristoff regularly posts fantastic images and videos from the park, showing off the park's scenic vistas and overall beauty. This weekend, they're expecting sunshine and warm temperatures. Check out Jed's social posts for more amazing videos.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
Still ahead, Halloween and hunger relief. how a team of high schoolers is turning recycled glass into a lifeline for hundreds of families. Well, Halloween is almost here, and high school students in Virginia are on a mission to create some spooky sustainability. Caroline Patrikas from our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. explains.
Students at Madison High School are taking repurposed glass jars and a little tape and eyes.
Be messy. Take your piece of tape, tear them in half.
They're making mummies made out of repurposed glass jars that Jude Adler, the 16-year-old student, has been collecting since last year.
This craft is super simple, but it's helping so many families.
It's the second year in a row Jude is organizing Mummies for Mouths, a project he started last year.
Well, we've always been incredibly close with Vienna, and in a way, they're kind of giving back to us when we give back to them.
The mummy decorations are sold, and the profits feed those in need throughout the community.
And we saw all the meals being distributed to everybody who needed it. And now I just feel like we are kicking back better than ever, because if we can do that, then we could do it 3 times that, 4 times that, 1,000,000 times over again, just to try and help everybody.
Last year, he donated $6,000 to feed those in need. This year, he says he's going to double it.
Yes, it's a large goal, but, we've already made over 200 mummies. We've already almost hit $3,000 raised.
Jude is now applying to make Mummies for Mouths a nonprofit.
And here's a look at that full 10-day forecast. We're finally taking a much-needed break from the rain. The next 2 days not only look drier, we're welcoming back some sunshine, along with the mid-70s. That's our treat for all the rain we picked up recently. After that, a quick little cool down for the weekend. It's going to feel very fallish. We've got low 60s on Saturday, mid-60s by Sunday. Both nights are chilly with lows dipping into the 40s. Some of the coolest air of the season. And then a look ahead beyond the weekend shows the dry, sunny stretch will continue through at least midweek, with temperatures warming right back up from the upper 60s into the low 70s again, before another cool down follows by the very end of this 10-day forecast. Mary?
Amy, thank you. Well, finally tonight, a good lunch is normally a key to a successful school day. And Baltimore County Schools and Giant Food trying to make that a reality for every student. The grocery store chain is donating more than $26,000 to Baltimore County Public Schools to fight food insecurity. BCPS plans to use the money to increase oven capacity at its schools, which they say will help feed more students and improve quality of food. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.